Oh, how one day can change everything in college football. It definitely changed everything for the Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday. And in the grand scheme of things, Georgia didn't play that great against a UMass team. And what happened? It still was rewarded that day when Alabama lost, when Ole Miss lost, Indiana lost in front of the Dogs. They're going to move up in the rankings this Tuesday night when the College Football Committee releases the newest rankings. But the biggest thing that worked out for the Dogs, and something that concerns fans, and the whole point of me coming here is to talk about why it shouldn't concern fans and why I think that you can't let last year freak you out too much. Georgia's going to the SEC championship game, and that wasn't the case just two days ago at this point in the day, 2 days ago. That was not, I couldn't say that to be truthful. At that point, Alabama and Texas looked like the most likely SEC championship game. And now it's going to be Georgia and the winner of the Texas A&M rematch. A game that hasn't happened in over a decade. It's going to happen in College Station at Kyle Field, where the Aggies will have the home field advantage and is coming off of a huge loss to the Auburn Tigers where, hey, look, it's funny, I watched SEC Shorts before I came on here and watched this, and there was a little joke where the Alabama guy looks over to the Texas A&M guy looks over to the Alabama guy, and he's like, you were right, that place is haunted. Crazy things happen in Jordan-Hare Stadium, and I tried to tell you guys on Friday, Auburn was going to win that football game. But, look, it went from, hey, Georgia's going to have a road playoff game, maybe sneak into a home playoff game, to now Georgia's got a chance to get that bye again, to win the SEC championship and move on and get to the round of 8 teams, which is the second round. And if Georgia does win the SEC championship, it will be playing in the Sugar Bowl, right? So these are buildings it's familiar with. Georgia is now in a much better position, right? And that's things could just change like that. All of a sudden, it looks way different. Ole Miss is just got to be out of the picture now, right? You lose to Florida. You've lost to Kentucky. You lost to LSU. None of those losses are quote-unquote, right, quote, air quotes on this because the committee's talking about it and is all over the place. Those aren't good losses, necessarily. They're not a loss to Alabama on the road like Georgia suffered. It's not a loss to Georgia like Texas suffered. It's not a loss at Oregon like Ohio State has suffered. Those are all losses to teams that, guess what, they're not ranked anymore if they were at the time. So Ole Miss is out of this picture. I'm assuming Alabama's out of this picture as well because guess what? It's in the same boat outside of its loss at Tennessee. If one of those teams is going to have a chance, it will be Alabama. It will not be Ole Miss. Those guys being out of the picture helps Georgia move up, looks Georgia stronger. It ended up not being the biggest part, though, because that conference championship game matters. And people are freaking out about it. And the internet is freaking out about it. And I'm going to try to talk you off the edge of the cliff right now. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post talking about the SEC championship, talking about everything that's happened over the last few days. Georgia now in prime position to get this thing done. You look at FanDuel, the odds are back to what it was preseason, right? You look at who has the best odds to win the national championship before the season. It was 1 Ohio State, 2 Georgia, 3 Texas, or 3 Oregon and 4 Texas. It's jumbled over the course of the season. Those numbers have moved up and down. And guess what? Look at where we're right back to square one. And those are the 4 teams that everyone's looking and pointing at and saying, hey, I think it's going to be one of those 4 teams that wins the national championship. So after a really chaotic season, it looks like things are going to still, in a way, shake out the way that people originally thought. But look, Georgia. First of all, there is got to be Georgia Tech. First and foremost, right? And that's what Kirby Smart would say to you. He straight up did say something like that after the UMass win and someone's asking about the future. And he said, look, guys, all I care about is this Georgia Tech game. That should be true. First and foremost, Georgia's got to take care of the Jackets. They got to win that game. And then you're in a prime position. You're 10-2, heading into the SEC Championship, heading into a game in Atlanta in a building it's played in a bunch, a building it's played in this season. You're going to have more fans there just because you're going to get a little bit of a home atmosphere, just a little bit. Still, I'm assuming if it's Texas or A&M, you're still going to get a good output. You're going to get bigger output if it's Texas fans. And you're going to be favored in that game. I have a hard time seeing Georgia not be favored over Texas or A&M. Not that that matters to me, because I don't care about that. And I think I've told you guys that over and over. I don't care about who's favored in these games. But you would look at this and think, this is probably good for Georgia. You don't necessarily love a rematch against Texas, but why are people freaking out? Well, Lane Kiffin said something last week. He said, some of these SEC coaches don't want to be in the SEC championship game. Why? What happens if you get punished for losing it and you get knocked out of the playoff? It's what happened to Georgia last year with the 4-team playoff. It was more justifiable last year than it would be this year if Georgia lost in the SEC championship game. I have a hard time seeing Georgia fall out of the top 12 now unless they lose to Tech, something weird happens. If Georgia beats Tech and loses in the SEC championship game, what you're thinking for Georgia, even if it falls down, we're talking about maybe a road playoff game, I think. Because at this point, we're talking about a team that made the SEC championship, has won 10 games. People are going to freak out if this Georgia team gets left out again under some weird circumstances. It is going to be way, way worse than last year. All right, so committee, if you somehow found this video and Georgia gets left out, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be fun for you to deal with because people are going to tweak. I don't know that that's going to happen. You like Georgia's chances at this point. Getting that bye. This is something I went back and forth with on our message board. Go to dawgpost.com, by the way. Sign up for our newsletter. That's linked below. You're getting all sorts of extra content over there. I can't speak every word that we write over there. I can't say all the inside stuff that we say over there. So make sure you're checking it out. I was having a conversation with people on our message board, the porch. Go be a member if you want to go check it out. And they're all talking about how, or a handful of them are talking about how they don't want Georgia, and this is a couple weeks ago, they don't want Georgia to make the SEC championship. They don't want to get punished like last year. I don't think it's as cut and dry as it was like that last year. I think that there's too many teams involved, and at this point, Georgia's just straight up proven. Now, the committee's been disrespecting the Dogs, and I get the concern. But first and foremost, what you want to win every single game. And I tell you what, Kirby is not like the fans. Kirby wants to go to the SEC championship game. He loves the SEC championship game. And it's a special game that I'm worried about what it's going to mean in the future because of all the chaos and all of the moving pieces in college football. I sometimes worry, is this going to get devalued in the future? To me, it's not being devalued right now. You were in a bye. You were in the opportunity to maybe not have to go on the road and play somewhere tough in the first round. You get to automatically go, and you get to automatically go to a bowl game that you're somewhat familiar with, right? With Georgia and the Sugar Bowl. Those are special things. And it also means more trophies in the trophy case because you won the SEC championship. So don't sit here and tell me that the first and foremost goal should not be to go on and win the SEC championship. I get it. But we're talking about Georgia playing in its backyard in Atlanta against either Texas, a team that we saw Georgia not play well on offense against, and crush on the road, or a Texas A&M team that's all over the place and not a serious contender, if you ask me. Why? What's going on with Texas A&M the last month? They got thumped by South Carolina. I think that we told you on Dawg Post that was going to happen, and then they just lost to Auburn on the road. So you're telling me that Texas A&M is going to go into Atlanta and give Georgia a real fight when it got down 21-0 to Auburn? It is inconsistent, right? You look at its entire schedule. What's Texas A&M's strongest performance? People say Missouri, the 41-10 win against Missouri. Well, Missouri had its backup quarterback in, and that was probably the worst stretch of football Missouri played all year. You think, it was against LSU. LSU is not the number 8 team in the country anymore, and it is sputtering. And it started sputtering in that game against Texas A&M. And what happened in that game? It is one of the worst second-half defensive performances I've seen in college football. That's what happened with LSU. Solid win for Texas A&M, but it's not this great one. If you're Georgia, I don't think you're scared of Texas A&M. No, it's whatever. All these games are matchup dependent, and there's things that Texas A&M does that I think Georgia could have a hard time with. We're not talking about that matchup quite yet, though. Just the semantics of all this, and the semantics of all this is Georgia's in a much better position. And I have a very hard time seeing the Dogs get left out of the college football playoff if they somehow lose the SEC championship game. But I just think that things have completely turned around. And this has been a roller coaster of a season. Think about a lot of it. You just think about all the different games that have happened this year, and you think about all the scenarios that have happened each and every week. And just a week ago, we're talking about, is Georgia going to get a home playoff game? Is Georgia going to get a road playoff game? Is Georgia going to get in the playoff at all? And then now we're talking about, is Georgia going to win the SEC championship and get a bye? It's a testament to how crazy this college football season has been. It's been a lot of fun, and Georgia's in a much better position now. But trying to talk you off the ledge, you should feel good about Georgia's chances now. Thanks for watching.